A very good morning to you. Welcome along this Tuesday morning. It is a short week, folks. Yes, it is. Everybody's recovering from their chocolate intake over the weekend. I'm delighted to say Anthony Moyles has made it in for us. How are you?
I'm good, yeah. Good. Yeah, good form. Plenty of chocolate.
Living your best life?
Yeah. It's been it's a good weekend. Good weekend of sport. Great weather. Yeah. So we had a bit of a championship at Meath this weekend, so it was all concentration on that.
It's club month, obviously. It's working out really well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's we've pretty much half the season now is over in Meath already. You know, it's funny. We've played 2 championship games. We've played about 6 rounds of the league. We're actually playing again on Wednesday night after just playing championship. Like, let's get this run off as quick as possible.
So hang on, you're playing championship on Wednesday?
No, we're playing league on Wednesday.
Okay.
Like literally 2-3 days after
a championship match.
Yeah. And we will hit a spell now, you know, the usual, where it'll be nothing for like
5 months, 4 months.
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, our next championship game probably won't, depending on Meath, obviously, Super 8s and all that stuff, which we're probably talking late August. So, yeah.
So what would you want to be doing playing in the best part of the year at all for?
Listen, no.
I mean, it's not a real game unless it's lashing rain.
Correct, yeah. Not able to bounce the ball.
Yeah.
Those various different skills can't be used. No, and it was like, thankfully the weather was actually good, because I don't know if you remember last weekend, but last weekend was absolutely Baltic. Like, we trained on the Sunday, and the difference in a week
and
was great.
And next weekend is apparently going to be pretty bad as well.
Yeah. So it was actually great to get it, but you know, I believe that I was actually at a few games. The standard was pretty good, but it's very hard. It's 2 seasons. You know, it's 2 complete seasons. You have to get the team ready for this, and now you're going, actually, we could give them 2 or 3 weeks off. You know, you could, really, you could. We probably will end up giving lads 10 days, even probably 2 weeks off, you know, which is odd, you know, really is. Yeah. And you're doing that, as you say, in the best time of the year. Yeah.
I mean, maybe if this becomes set in stone, which obviously nobody really wants to be set in stone, because that means we've failed to fix the other issues, then maybe that just becomes how life gets lived, and it's the new normal, and you have this 2 seasons, and there's the 1 pre-season which takes place in January and runs and finishes at the end of April, and then everybody goes away for a month and then comes back and has another pre-season, and then maybe start again in August.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's like...
And again, you know, probably if that is the way it is, well, let's just put some, you know, let's just make sure that it is sorted and it's actually set in stone, so fellas can know that actually, okay, I can book holidays in May and June. Yeah. You know, whatever it is, and then we'll just get going again in July. But it's, you know, it's definitely not, like, I mean, there's lots of, I think Kerry were playing a lot of championship games this weekend, or in April, so they've used it. Some counties have, some counties haven't. Now, it was good. We had our under-20 players back with us, which was a big bonus, you know, because we hadn't really seen them, because that championship starts. But then I saw, you know, there's talk now that they potentially might look at playing an under-19 championship in Meath. Like, it's just, for every one thing, there's all these unintended consequences that goes on, you know, and you're saying, oh, well, we haven't given those guys, that group of fellas, you know, game time. But, like, I look at our team is made up of an awful lot of 17, 18, 19-year-olds now, you know, so they're getting as much football as they want. It's just, again, you know, it's just trying to get that surety on it, and actually saying, okay, this is when we're playing, that's when you have time off, which seems simple.
Yeah. It does. I didn't mean to start off. Yeah, I didn't mean to start off the show. It was a pretty amazing weekend of sport. We're going to be talking about all of it a little bit later on today. We've got Ronan O'Gara joining us around about 8:10. Andy Mitten is going to join us to look back a little bit at the humiliation of Manchester United against Everton, and also look forward to what's going to happen tomorrow night at Old Trafford when they take on Manchester City. The big games are coming thick and fast at this point of the season, and I think we can all be pretty happy about that. Alan Quinlan is going to join us around about 9:05 as well for his take on Munster and Leinster's performances at the weekend. So plenty to get our teeth into across the course of the day. Phil will join us a little bit later on as well. We will look back at the national too. I did want to talk just briefly about Chelsea last night. I know you were watching this game. Jeff Hendrick scores a screamer early on. He
played well. He was under pressure because, you know, Chelsea were like, second half was just literally all Chelsea. I think the possession actually at one stage on the stats was like they actually had 0%, the Burnley guys in the Chelsea box. Right. So they just didn't get up there at all. They were quite, you know, they were good in the first half, quite effective, but Chelsea just put the squeeze on the big time second half. It was kind of a little bit frustrating. I think Higuain was trying to get free in the box. They just couldn't find him. To be fair, the 2 centre halves for Burnley were excellent. Really, really, really good. There's me, and I don't. The other guys are kind of I can't think of his name at the moment. But they were really, really, really excellent. They cleared I don't know how many balls. They were all over everything. They're really well competent. I was remarking though, Dyche is an unbelievable manager. Like obviously he demands that they are unbelievably fit and well able to run and break and everything else, but he never used a substitute. He hardly, like, I mean, there was guys going down cramps. There was cramps all over the place for them. Their front man, I think Davies, went down, and I was saying, like, I mean, he has to take him off, and he didn't bother taking him off. And then I was kind of going, right, you know, they obviously had plenty of ammunition to come on, and he never changed one. And I was thinking, rear guard action, you need someone just to come out and get a ball here and take hold of it. But he didn't, but it worked out for him. So yeah, massive point for them. He was absolutely going ballistic after the game. And Sarri, on the other hand, was quite upset. But yeah, like, I mean, it just seems, I watched City and Spurs and stuff, it just seems that no one wants to get that fourth spot. Like, I mean, no one, you know, Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, no one really is going for it. And
they all keeping each other in it as well. Like, you stick a run of, obviously this edge of the season, stick any two results together and you're going to catapult yourself to into Europe next season. So anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later on with Andy Mitten. It's time for the sports pages. Going to start this morning with the back page of the Irish Daily Mail. Saints Alive is the story. This is a picture of Ruby Walsh on the Grand National winner yesterday. Willie Mullins' runners banked a record Boyle Sports Irish Grand National haul of 435 grand, 1, 2, 3, and some more as well, as Burroughs Saint put the Irish champion trainer on the Fairyhouse Scroll of Honour for the very first time. So obviously this was, I think, the last big race that Willie Mullins had yet to successfully win, and a very, very happy Ruby Walsh in the aftermath of it as well. And Ruby was asked, you know, are you going to keep going? Sure, why wouldn't I? He says. But at some point Ruby's going to say and answer that question, no, that's it, I'm done. And we should be enjoying as much of Ruby Walsh as we possibly can, because there won't be that much more of it.
Oh, absolutely fantastic event for him. Just looking at the Mirror Sport. Sorry, but you have to go. Nice little headline there, which kind of leads you to, are they saying that he has to be sacked? But actually it was that he was just put to the out of the technical area last night for going mental about a couple of results or a couple of situations that happened. And the big one is obviously no respect, which I think is hilarious. Paul Pogba saying, our body language and performances have disrespected the club, the fans and the red shirt, and then in brackets, especially yours, Paul. So, you know, for a guy who's coming out with comments like that, he certainly isn't, you know, doing much about it on the pitch, you would feel.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is like, I just won the World Cup. I'm not that happy here. I liked a little bit of the opportunity that we had to maybe win the Champions League. That's gone. So I'm not going to get injured for the rest of the season. I don't want an off-season rehabbing when I'm going to be meeting my new teammates wherever I'm going.
I can't believe, like, it's amazing. You rewind 4 weeks ago and Solskjaer was this, you know, wizard. How could he do this? You know, amazing turnaround, give the guy the job, da-da-da-da-da. They're all playing for each other. There's massive camaraderie. And now it's a mess again.
Yeah.
And they're saying, okay, what does he have to do? He has to get rid of X, Y, Z players. He has to do all this. And maybe he's not the man. You know, when quite clearly the team have just upped sticks and they just said, no, we're not going to bother for the last couple of games. Yeah,
I think that there's been there was the overreaction about how it was brilliant, and then there's the overreaction about how bad it is too. So let's give him an off season and see. The papers yesterday were saying that Mike Phelan might be the new technical director that they appoint. That would be a disaster. That would clearly be a disaster. He's not somebody.
Why?
Well, because there's no way that he has shown the track record of somebody who is going to be the hard-nosed transfer guru that club needs. If you look back at the money that they've spent over the last decade, they've wasted money more often than not. Loads of papers today have comparisons with how much they spent on Fred versus other teams building an entire team with the 53 million that they spent on a player who can't get near the first team really in big games. And you just start to think that what they need is somebody who knows who the reserve left back at Benfica is and who the third choice under 19 is at Juventus. So you can go, well, I'm going to get this guy and I'm going to get that guy to see exactly what happens. So I don't think he's the man for it. A real Pogs dinner is the continuation of that story in the back of the Star this morning. And then Ruby eyes the Tiger. Ruby Walsh wants to take on Tiger Roller Daintree next season with Fairyhouse hero Burroughs Saint. So he obviously is looking forward to next year. Sarri off as Jeff stuns the Blues. And then Battle to Nab Classy Ryan Sessegnon is the big transfer target. He's only 18, obviously had a great season with Fulham this year, and it looks like Spurs and Juve are interested in him.
Yeah. Racing Post, you have Home Comforts, and you've got Spurs can continue fine start in new stadium. 3-1 in there, and no goals conceded for Spurs in the new stadium, which is pretty good. You know, you have to appreciate, because, there was plenty of talk, obviously, when the Wembley situation went in, and I think you can see the players actually enjoy playing there. Yeah, that's the big thing, and they're playing good stuff. You know,
and it looks cool.
I'm hands up. I am a Spurs supporter. I was disappointed with them on Saturday. I just thought they actually could have went at City a bit more, but after the heroics of, I suppose, during the week, there was a lot of tired legs and everything else, and the squad is definitely not as deep as City's squad. But that's a great game for them. They need to win that game now and really start to push for that fourth place.
Yeah, totally. United's problems run far deeper than Solskjaer. This is a Jonathan Wilson piece. Rashford aside, there are a few players supporters would be sad to leave the club. There is definitely massive remedial work needed, but you tend not to do all that in one season. And then already there, will Norwegian be just another name on list of failures? Hasn't actually...
that's amazing.
Had the permanent job, was it 14 days?
That's amazing. It just shows you, I remarked to you earlier on, it's there's so much about United in the papers. You've got the match coming up on Wednesday, and there's nothing about City. It's all about United. It's amazing how much coverage they still demand for a team.
I think that they're going through a pretty interesting news cycle at the moment as well, where that defeat, they were so shockingly bad against Everton the weekend. Dundalk make it 3 in a row with comeback wins, so Dundalk at least putting a bit of pressure on Shamrock Rovers at the top of the table, although they are still 7 points behind with only 12 games gone. The Sun, it's Glee Willie. Mullins lands Fairyhouse showpiece. That's a Free Willy? Is it like the 1990s?
Okay, I'll go with
kids
that
movie. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? And then Disrespectful Pog, we let down the fans. So they're fairly similar Pogba theme stories.
It's funny, I have to say. I saw De Gea and I saw Pogba. It's kind of like the thing now. You don't bother your backside, and you just come out then and tweet, "Sorry about that. We disrespected everyone. It has to be better."
Yeah.
It's that's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're a paid professional. This is your job.
Yeah.
It'd be like a pilot deciding, actually, I'm just going to, not land this airplane. Go out, do your job. You're getting paid a massive amount of money. At least give us effort. You may get beaten, you may not be technically good enough, but at least actually run around, try put in a tackle.
Yeah.
Do what you're meant to do.
That would definitely help things, wouldn't it? The whirlwind looks back. I'd have died if I'd won in 1982. I just found cocaine and I like to drink. It's Jimmy White, who always gives good copy. It's a Donald McRae interview, so you can be guaranteed that's a good one. Jimmy White told a story about staying, they were in Goffs for the snooker, and himself and somebody else holed up in a hotel room across the way, got crack cocaine, and had to strip the wood off the cupboard. Yeah. And they were burning it because there was nothing else that they could actually. It made sense in their crack adult minds, but I'm like, this is happening in Kildare in the 90s. Old Trafford exodus. De Gea and Pogba may look to exit if United miss top 4. So.
Yeah, you got some stuff here in the Times, the English version. They've got time to take action. So it's players and managers back Times manifesto to fight racism. Sterling leads calls for harsher punishments for perpetrators, and Stars demand crackdown from sponsors and social media sites. So there's it's about time that's actually happening. I don't know how successful it will be, because there's also always going to be idiots, but they're obviously trying to really get stuck in behind it. And the Daily Telegraph has Blues blow it, after the 2-2 result last night. Yeah,
we did think that this was going to be one of the best races for the top 4 in a long time, but it's turned out to be one of the worst, in terms of the quality of football that the teams are playing at the end of the season. When you think back to Arsenal desperately trying to give it away.
Yeah.
Well,
last night I hadn't seen Chelsea in a while, and they reminded me a little bit of the Arsenal of kind of 7, 8, 9 years ago. It was all kind of nice little tippy-tappy football around the kind of outside the box. Hazard was good, he caused problems down the left, and Pedro the same. But Loftus-Cheek, you actually needed, I was kind of watching and saying, why doesn't Sarri just put on loads of creative players here? Because Burnley didn't have the ball second half. You actually didn't need any defenders, you didn't need any defensive midfielders, but they just couldn't break them down. And it was all kind of just in front of them, there was nothing really, and you're kind of watching it going, they brought Giroud on with the last kind of 7 or 8 minutes to go. and they put one or two crosses into him, but he didn't seem like I'd say he's on the way out as well, you know. But yeah, it's been disappointing, as you say, you know, for something that really could have taken light, and it could have been, you know, it's like I saw someone saying no one actually wants to finish fourth. It's kind of similar.
The back page of the Irish Independent sports section this morning, so they're leading with a picture of Ruby Walsh. Mullins, it means a lot after years of trying, so there's some good comments from Willie Mullins talking about how his dad had won the race, and he'd seen it had been a big race in the family's history for years. So I'm delighted to have ridden Willie's first Irish national winner, says Ruby Walsh. He gave me a job when I was 16 and I'm 39 now. That's a long time not to have fallen out with somebody. So Ireland's loss to England, not relevant to Leinster, insists Cullen. This is the Saracens Leinster build-up starting already. And Pogba, manager, was right to slam players for disrespectful Everton display. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe Paul Pogba's using this as like a learning and teaching moment, sliding doors moment where he's like, actually, you know what, I can be a leader. I'm one of the best players in the world. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to perform like that week in, week out for Manchester United.
What's the chances of them getting a result on Wednesday?
I mean,
no one expects it now. This is typical them, actually.
City should hammer them, right?
So should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, there's a lot of big-time Charlies in that Man United team who will really like the fact that this game is such a big game and the focus is on them. And whatever they do in this game, if they were to win it, I mean, it would be a complete...
Oh, yeah.
It would absolutely paper over the cracks. If they win this game and finish in the top four, that whole axis shifts back towards, actually, you know what, the Everton thing, that was just a hangover from going out of Europe. It's fine, don't worry about it.
Better moment. Yeah. You know, maybe we needed it. It was a good time of the year to get it.
It taught Solskjaer a lot about the character of his, all that crap.
Focused our mind on the big game on against City. They could easily. You could easily see them get a result. No, I don't. You know, technically and everything else, but City had that's like City had to put. You think of even psychologically after last week, they really had to get a result against Spurs, and you could see the effort. Like, I mean, Spurs were kind of like a team going, doesn't really bother us if we get a result, great. But you guys really have to up it. We're going to push you at times, which I think they did. But it wasn't really hell for leather for Spurs. But City were, and actually the tension, you could, last 15 minutes, it was palpable from the TV. You could actually sense City were like, you know, it was on a knife edge, you know, and you could feel it from them. They didn't exactly play like that. They were still well in control. But I'd say there is serious pressure on them now coming into this game Wednesday.
They've scored early in almost all of the games that they've won just recently. So if Manchester United are not 1-0 down after 20 minutes, it will be interesting to see how City perform. That's one of the things that they've been doing. Now, do yourselves a favour. This is Virgil van Dijk telling Manchester United that they need to do themselves a favour and try and get the 3 points against Man City. Is there even a comment? They need to do themselves a favour, it says. Everton is not easy to beat at home, but 4-0 is a big result. Good man, Virgil.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to
G them up,
inspire them.
Yeah.
I've done all those. So is there anyone we haven't done?
No, it's well, you've got the Irish Examiner. Again, just talks about Willie Mullins, 1, 2, 3. So we've already covered that. Pretty amazing. Great day in Fairyhouse yesterday. They got the weather for it, and the crowds were massive, I believe.
Yeah, and we do have the Irish news this morning as well. So this is a Tyrone story. Carlin, red hands could add surprise element for summer. So the surprise element here. So Tyrone could add an additional surprise element to complement their new kicking game this summer, according to Dermot Carlin. The Double Ireland winner believes the Red Hands can bring a variety of approaches to their championship challenge, which begins on the 12th of May. Can you believe it? Wow. We're like 3 weeks away from the start of the Ulster Football Championship.
I think he's right. Matty Donnelly, Colin McShane. They definitely have a different approach.
Yeah.
And they've worked on that. They've worked on a full forward. They've worked on a big man. And they've probably said, we definitely need to think of something with doubling down the line of being a bit more direct. Now, the big question for Dublin then is, does Rory O'Carroll come back in from Kilmacud Crokes?
There's been no leaks, no suggestion that he's training with the squads.
Haven't heard anything yet.
No. And normally that kind of stuff just gets out there somewhere.
Yeah.
One of the well-sourced...
Yeah, I would have. Well, like, I mean, they had championship, so I'd say now they're back in, I would not be surprised, really. Unless there was something that went on that none of us know about, behind the scenes. Maybe there was a personal thing going on with himself and Gavin. I don't think there was. I think it was a very much a, listen, I have to do this. That was fine. Go ahead. Best of luck type thing. We'll see you when you get back, if you're good enough. But I definitely think it has showed, and the last couple of games in the league showed that there's a weakness there.
Yeah, and they're not gonna suddenly try and manufacture somebody like stick Fenton back there to man mark somebody like Matty Donnelly. Would you do that?
No.
If you don't go the Rory Carroll route.
No, I don't think you do that. But maybe McCarthy
or Brian Howard.
Yeah. Listen, he has options, but I think it's still a very, very specialised position.
Yeah, it's a bit square peg round hole when you've got this beautiful thing.
Correct.
That fits
just stick him in there.
Ready to come off the bench.
Yeah.
Let's get into a few of the stories. I want to play you this. It's a clip of Paul Pogba talking to Sky Sports last night about the hammering to Everton. Have a look.
The way we played, the performance of myself, of the team, of everyone is just disrespectful. We didn't respect, I think, ourselves, the club and the fans.
I think it'd be great if Paul Pogba could become the player for Manchester United that he shows in glimpses. That he has it within his power to dominate games in a way that everybody says he can't because he's not that type of player. But actually, when he wants to, he can be. Yeah. And he also has the trickery and talent of a brilliant forward. Like, he's on the verge of being one of the best.
What age is he now?
Type of footballers we've ever seen. Is he 24, 25? I just looked that up.
He frustrates me sometimes.
26.
Is he that?
Just turned 26 last week.
I thought he was younger because sometimes his attitude is a little bit petulant. He kind of comes across, maybe it's the French thing, maybe it's, sometimes he cares, sometimes he doesn't care, I'm sure he cares, but, it's just that kind of, as you say, he does it in spurts during the game. I think he's phenomenal because he's a physical specimen. Like he's a massive man, and he throws people out of his way at times. He's got a great burst of speed. He scores ridiculous goals. But I've watched, plenty of people have kind of critiqued him as regards his work rate and going back. Is it something that you change, or do you decide, you know what, he's just not going to do that for me? So he's a midfielder who takes the ball from here and brings it there. I don't expect him to come back and start winning tackles on the edge of our own box. Maybe I just play him as he is. Stop trying to change, something that's not going to change.
And maybe if you're France, you could do that because you've got N'Golo Kante in the team and it's fine. I'm just... Wikipedia helpfully serves up. People also search for Jesse Lingard. Lingard's older than Pogba. I didn't.
Wow.
Some people still think of Lingard as this player who's finding his way. He still hasn't quite fully blossomed or matured yet. That Pogba obviously is at that level of global superstardom because of the quality of the performances and also his social media presence.
Do you make him captain? Like my thing about the captaincy, I felt in English football, the captain is nearly always seen as a guy who's putting in a performance every week, right? He's always there. He's ever present. He's putting in his tackles. He's doing everything for you. Whereas he could be a 10 one week. He could be a 6 the next week. I think again that goes back to the type of job he does in the team. Like if you're playing against him, you just get someone to man mark him. You just get someone to annoy him, be around him, keep chomping at him. So and then he's not going to go bring you back into areas where he's picking up the ball. He wants to create. He wants to start going forward. So. I think you just have to suffer him a little bit. Try getting more out of him, obviously, but kind of say, listen, as you say, get a Kante in there, let him do the dog work, and you create a bit more and get goals for us.
Do you, if you're Man United though, and you're trying to build a team, and you're Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and you've got one shot at this, do you take the 200 million quid that's on offer, or whatever is on offer, and go, I'm going to use this to put a collage of different players together? Or try and change what you've got with Pogba and turn him into the best player in the world?
I would take the 200 million. Because I just don't think, if he was 22, I'd say yeah, but actually I'm surprised he's 26. I'm kind of thinking now, right, he's getting along.
He is.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to change that. He's been through a lot of managers' hands now, and it seems to. And I know the Mourinho thing, but he just seems to. He has this presence, he has this aura, And I would say it's a lot of, it's on my terms, not really on your terms type thing.
Yeah.
The
other thing that happened over the course of the weekend was that it looks like Sheffield United have managed to shoot themselves into the automatic promotion to the Premier League. Now, they're 3 points clear of Leeds with 2 games left and have a vastly superior goal difference. So a lot of questions about Marcelo Bielsa at this point of the season taking a no-hope Leeds basket case side to the brink of automatic promotion, and that's like, this guy, who is he? Coming in here with his work hard in the early part of the season and try and shoot yourselves to glory. Now it looks like they might have burned themselves out a little bit. And I don't know. I mean, I think that there's a lot of. I think that Marcelo Bielsa is a genius appointment by Leeds, who has suddenly catapulted them to relevancy after a decade of being completely basket case. And he tried to get them to a point where they were going to qualify automatically, and now they're going to have to go through the playoffs. And look, I'm not sure what's going to happen for them in the playoffs, but
it only put them in the frame.
Exactly.
Out of nowhere. Yeah, so you can't. And, I think he probably had to do what he did, obviously to put them in that frame, but to get the culture of that club changed and altered, and even get the players to do it. 2 games left, anything can happen.
I think so too. I think there's everybody, the papers have anointed Sheffield United because over the weekend they played really well.
Yeah.
And the most recent thing we've seen is Leeds stuttering, and you're like, okay, well, but it's the championship, right?
Yeah. Anything can happen. Yeah. So I wouldn't be. But I think also, I just saw, there was one of the headlines in the Times, it was wasteful Leeds. I think they had a mountain of shots. They just couldn't put the ball in the net. Yeah, and they were in the game, so it was a back-to-back. It was like the old school First Division back-to-back, Easter weekend, Good Friday, Bank Holiday Monday games in the Championship. And on the Friday game, they were 1-0 up and a man up after 15 minutes. And they managed to lose 2-1 to a team who were battling relegation. Yeah. So, obviously they threw it away then. They had another opportunity yesterday to kind of try and rescue it a little bit. And so Sheffield United have come with a late burst. But the other thing is that they're now heading into the... Say they don't make the automatic and they end up in the playoffs. Villa have managed to qualify for the playoffs with 2 games left to go, despite the fact they were completely out of it 10 games ago. And they've done that by winning every game for 10 games. So would you rather be... the supposedly superior team of Leeds stuttering into the playoffs, or would you rather be Villa who've won 10 in a row? Villa. Yeah. Yeah, they've hit form, obviously. It's going to be hard for him. Every little bit of psychoanalysis and everything else he's going to need for this to pick them back up if they don't do it. I just see there, Hernandez, the Leeds midfielder, was in tears at the final whistle, and many of the supporters will feel the same. Pablo deserves to finish first or second, so I understand how he feels. Bielsa said, but football every day gives you new opportunities. In tears at the end of the game already. Not a good sign, yeah. No. It's like William Gallas beating the ground or sitting out on the field. Didn't really ever work out for Gallas at Arsenal after that. Right, let's move on. That's your papers for today. If you want to get in touch with us, you can tweet the show, #OTBAM. It is just after 14 minutes past 8 this morning on OTBAM. We've plenty more coming up for you on the show. A reminder too that you can listen to the show every morning on offtheball.com, just like a breakfast sports radio show. Hit listen, minimise and go about your morning. Now, as you may have heard on Off the Ball over the last little while, we're giving you a chance to go to the Rugby World Cup in Japan. It's an all expenses paid trip to Ireland against Scotland in Yokohama on the 22nd of September. An absolutely amazing prize. We're going to give away, we already gave away the first of the 100 green tickets at our roadshow in the Olympia last month, and we're going to be giving the rest away across Off the Ball all the way up until the 9th of May. So for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be giving you an opportunity to be one of 100 people who will be at our next roadshow. All 100 green tickets will join us at a very special event in Dublin, after which one lucky winner in the room will be jetting their way to Japan. 2 on chance of winning this morning. You've got to answer 3 questions for us. Answer all 3 questions in the same tweet comment. So if you know the answer to our first question, write it down and save it. We're going to ask you one now, another around 8:30, and a third just before 9 a.m. All 3 questions are around the same game. The first question is, who did Ireland beat in their first Rugby World Cup game in 2007? The final score was 32-17, but who did Ireland beat? So who did Ireland beat in the first Rugby World Cup game in 2007? Scores 32-17. Who did Ireland beat? Let's move on. We want to look back at the weekend's rugby, and I'm delighted to say Ronan O'Gara is with us this morning. Ron, how you doing?
Hi, Jar. Anthony.
How's it going?
Good, yeah. Good. Yourself?
Yeah, good. The weekends... let's start with Munster and their performance. At half-time, it looked like they were very much in the game, but the difficulty with a team as good as Saracens is that unless you get ahead of them, unless you have some kind of sense of control, you're always really playing the game on their terms.
Yeah, I think probably disagree with you at the start, Ger. I don't think Munster were in the. They were in the game on the scoreboard, but I don't think they were in the game. The writing kind of not writing on the wall, but there was warning signs that Munster didn't win the air, and it's usually a strong point of their game. I think within 12 minutes, Munster had lost 4 of the 5 high balls. You know.
Yeah.
So. They're things you control. They're not 50-50s. Spencer kicked them really accurately, but if you're a forward for Munster, it's a big learning day for Mike Haley at 15. And I think, you just get exposed against how accurate and a cup mentality team that Saracens were. They don't play that much rugby in terms of ball in hand, but their kicking game is exceptional. Their line speed is exceptional. I think their capacity to chase and play for each other is exceptional. So they get huge return out of that, but it's a bit of a tactical masterclass in that they all buy in and they agree to play it, and they get a return from each other because 80% of the high ball within the first 20 minutes, or 85, I would say 90%, was won by Saracens, which, if you're not depriving them of their main strength, you're in for a long afternoon. So, Munster, as you said, were brave, but Saracens still were on the front foot for the whole game.
So how do you counteract that? Like, you must have known in advance that this is what Saracens are going to do if that's their strength. In the build-up, you talk all week about it, and then it still doesn't actually come off.
Yeah, exactly. You have a plan, but the plan probably didn't come off. It was interesting maybe to see the contrast with Conway catching the ball over his head in the technical side of the thing early on. I suppose Mike Haley was catching it traditionally, or trying to catch it traditionally, but it's it's got to the stage where it's such a difficult skill, and I think it's hard to practice it because every time you go for it, you nearly have to be prepared to break a leg. The commitment involved from it, like Ford McFadden has made a probably an exceptional career out of being extremely brave in the air, but his body is punished year in, year out as a result of. But that's how he's been so successful, and I think you could see the difference, I'd say, of the boys that were in the Joe Schmidt mindset as opposed to the boys that were in maybe the Munster mindset. The guys that are spending time in Irish camp, where it's one of their main principles, they got the players like Conway got it, but unfortunately for Mike Haley, similar to myself in terms of learning at the big stage, it was a big day for. He's got to do that for his teammates.
Yeah, and is it as simple as that? Like, was there, if they'd had Rob Kearney back there at fullback, would that have made such a big difference to the?
Well, it's ifs and buts, but sure, it gives you a chance. I think you just can't feed the animal that is Saracens with their kicking game. You kind of try and get parity, and then hopefully you get a break off some of the breaking balls. But like, they had absolute total dominance, and you didn't rattle them. And for Munster, I think, to have a chance of winning that game, something that Saracens hadn't seen before, Munster needed to show, but Munster could never probably get to play on the front foot. Hence, they were chasing shadows for much of the afternoon, I felt.
We've had fairly similar conversations year on year for the last 3 or 4 years about Munster reaching a semi-final, and this is the level that they're at the moment. They're not one of the 2 best teams in Europe, but they're close to leading the chasing pack. How do they catapult themselves from a semi-final team to a final team?
Yeah, I was thinking that myself, what I do if I was there. I think a lot of the answers aren't that obvious, Ger. I think there is a noticeable difference in quality from Leinster Saracens to the rest of the teams. So I think it could be a number of years, and we all say things change very quickly in sport. They do, but you got to remember, with as good as Tyler Blyandal is, I just think Joey Carberry has a little bit younger legs. Earlsey was a big loss. But up front too, you know, the two Vunipolas, and I told you, it's a lot of the strengths of the English team were on show in the Rico Arena on Saturday afternoon, and Saracens, they were comfortably the better team, but I think from the Munster's camp point of view, they would have been disappointed in the fact that they didn't test them more. At any stage in the game, I didn't think that Munster would win, which in the Toulouse-Leinster game, I thought even though Leinster were dominant, because of the way Toulouse play with their a little bit of a free spirit and X-factor individuals, a 12-point lead against Toulouse, all of a sudden, they could be 2 points up after two Colby tries, while it looks like Munster have to really hit the gain line hard, carry, slug, and then you might get one try, but if you want to win semi-finals, you kind of have to be looking at, probably minimum 2 tries.
So is that a complete rethink about the philosophy and the style of play and what they're trying to do in possession of the game?
I don't know, actually, because I suppose it's a little bit of that chicken and the egg in terms of like they're getting to semi-finals with this style, and as a coaching management team, the pressure is probably on to get to that stage. But if you can't trial your game in Pro 12 games against weaker oppositions to kind of see how it would stand up, that you can't just kind of expect to hit the ground running with an all-out attack game against Saracens. It just doesn't happen. But
maybe Carberry is actually the free radical that introduces something completely different to that makes Saracens suddenly go, actually, we haven't seen this before. It's not the...
Yeah, and that happens in, I suppose, bizarre circumstance too. Like, we're watching rugby for a long time, and the try, I suppose, he set up for Ireland, Scotland and Murrayfield. His capacity to keep his feet and bust through 2 tackles. You don't see that very often, but it's an exceptional piece of play, and that's what I suppose powerful, gifted young fellas can do. And he does have X factor, and I think probably too a lovely combination with Zebo would have been made Munster stronger. There's no doubt about that he can score tries out of nothing. Obviously, he has defensive frailties, but in what Munster need, I think, it isn't solidity; it's X factor.
Yeah. So should Munster be trying to get Zebo back? Is that like on the cards in the next 12 months that you let him go and he has his good time, and then you bring him back and say, look, you're still 30, 31, 32. There's plenty of time for you to be an impact player at Munster.
Yeah, you would like to think that grown men can bury the hatchet and do what's best for Munster, because I think there's a lot of people that wanted to do well. I would presume Simon Zebo would be open to that. You just don't know what the thinking in the Munster camp is. Has he burnt his bridges? I don't know, but you would like to think he hasn't. And he's he could make. But you need, it's more than something like that, like the age profile, with the way the game is going. You need kind of to 23 to 26-year-olds. You look at some of the guys up front for Leinster that are coming through now. They're just very, very impressive. And Munster's strength traditionally is up front. Let's not lose that and try and play an all-out attacking game. Their strengths are very different to what Leinster's strengths are. So you need to keep your strengths as strong as possible, but make gradual improvements to other aspects of your game. But I suppose with Munster not winning the air or the scraps, it was hard for forwards to get any momentum in their carries and to get, I suppose, a solid possession game going. And that's what happens in these games, because Saracens are so efficient in how they play.
Yeah, you get worn down trying to chase the game, and then they just take you apart.
Yeah, you get worn down, but like a high ball is a high ball. There's one man that can take it. It's the same as a place kicker's duty is to knock the ball over. A tight head's prop's duty is to lock out the scrum, and if he's really good.
Oh, we're gone. We'll get back to Ronan in just a second. It must be frustrating for the Munster fans to reach a semi-final year after year after year and not to be close to winning it. Like, it's not. There's been none of those semi-finals since he retired where you've gone, that could have gone either way.
Well, it's funny, even when he says there, I think there was probably an acceptance that they were going to lose it. Even I read all the papers of the weekend, and no one was saying they have a chance. There wasn't even an inkling of a chance.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, if they get, and if the guy listened to Keith Wood last week on the show, and he was kind of saying, well, you never know, Munster might just have one of those days where it all comes right. It was kind of one of those, it was like, that if everything right and Saracens fall apart type thing, it'll happen. Where there wasn't really, we could get at them this way, we could get at them that way.
It wasn't evidence-based.
No. But listen, Carbery's a massive loss. And obviously Earls. But, what he says there about Carbery having the ability, I think one or two players like that, and especially in such a pivotal position, obviously he has 10, he makes it thick all of a sudden. Maybe he just adds a bit of calm in there. Maybe he adds that bit of X factor in there. But it'd be interesting to see, do they have the players coming through? Leinster just seem to have this conveyor belt of guys coming through at 21, 22 years of age who are slipping into these massive positions, especially in the pack, and are adding massive amounts of oomph and everything else and ability.
So Ireland just won the Grand Slam at under 20 level, and a bunch of the backs are actually from Munster. There's a good new scrum half and out half coming through there, so obviously it'll take a couple of years for them to filter through. We're back at Ronan O'Gara. No, you're grand. Let's talk a little bit about the Leinster performance then at the weekend, because you made the point there that there were various moments where Toulouse were not in control of the game but were still dangerous because they've got such brilliant players on their team. Why the hell didn't they start with Entimac?
Well, they have, I don't know, brilliant players is pushing it, I don't know. They had some non-brilliant players that made some really poor decisions also in the game that didn't give them a chance. They don't have the discipline to compete at top 4 level in Europe, and that's a major issue for French teams going forward, is how can you actually get your behaviours right to give yourself a chance of competing at test level or top quality European Cup level. It's ref differently at top 14 level to European Cup. You could see probably people struggling with a lot of the interpretations of Gar says, in the Munster Saracens game. But in the Toulouse's case, they just they play obviously an unstructured game, expecting to get results, and they do get them against a lot of teams in France. But you've absolutely no chance against a disciplined team like Leinster, who are so miserly on the penalty count and so disciplined and work so hard for each other. I think the base of trust in the Leinster team is extremely strong, and I think when Johnny plays like he does on Saturday, Leinster are a very, very difficult team to beat.
Yeah, Sexton was really good. Back to
he was. Yeah, there was. You could see he was up for it, and he probably felt he had a point to prove. And I think he got the balance right between being determined, emotional, and probably complimentary to his teammates.
Yeah, and that's really important for him and for Ireland as well, just to see that whatever happened in the Six Nations was peculiar and specific to that period of time, as opposed to this is the stage of his career that he's at the moment, because clearly he's capable of putting in that level of performance, and that's what we should expect from him.
Yeah, exactly. And that happens. There was obviously, I think, the English performance in the Aviva that day was exceptional, and we have to acknowledge that, but that's one game. And Wales obviously more than deserve to beat Ireland, but that happens in sport. But I think Ireland can easily regroup from that and probably get good lessons out of it, and the time to peak is October. So I think they should be really excited by Johnny's performance at the weekend.
One of the other things that we had been talking about and just had assumed from an Ireland perspective was that we were going to have great strength and depth at number 7, and that no matter what happened, somebody brilliant was going to be playing there for us. And then Dan Levy went down, Van der Fleer went down, and are both out for the World Cup, and Sean O'Brien wasn't playing to the level that we thought that we had come to expect.
Is Van der Fleer out for the World Cup, is he?
Well, sorry. It won't be back until at least the start of the warm-ups. It felt like there was... I think that hasn't been confirmed yet. Yeah, but they were saying. Yeah, exactly. They were saying 12 weeks from the time of the injury, and then sometimes these injury. We have come not to fully believe everything that we get in terms of the injury dispatches. So he's not gone for the World Cup. I should have been more precise in my language. But we were concerned with Sean O'Brien's form 3 weeks ago. I thought Sean O'Brien looked slim and trim, and there was a bit of burst and a bit of wiggle there that we hadn't seen for a while. So that was good to see again.
Yeah, and I think when he's out for such a long period of time consecutively, it takes a lot longer than people realise to get your rhythm. So Sean's getting match fit. But I think anyone that probably knows him over a sustained period of time wouldn't have had those. Father Time catches everyone, but I think he's on the right side of that ledger in the fact that he can probably has another easily year or two at test level, and then he can play away at club level, whatever he wants. The guy is a born competitor and adds massive value to any changing room. So yeah, it was really pleasing to probably see him play it out in an acting role as opposed to maybe sometimes what great leaders do. They have inspirational words, but I thought Shawnee was really good with him without the ball at the weekend, and as you said, he looks in a fine fettle, as he'd call it himself.
At this distance, who do you make favourites for that final? After Saracens' performance on Saturday, there was a general kind of sense, whoever wins is going to find it difficult against them. But then Leinster's performance was so good that when you look through that team, very strong. You know, James Lowe was sensational, so they definitely not alone have a chance of winning. But I don't know if they're not. Maybe probably they aren't favourites at this stage, but it's a very close game.
Yeah, it is. I'd say it's going to be a great build-up as well. I'd say there'll be a few mind games going on before us, and I think it's a fascinating kind of chess match within a rugby game. You have obviously two brilliant number 10s, Itoje, Ryan, Vunipola, Conan, Maka Vunipola, Cian Healy, Jamie George, Sean Cronin. Top caliber rugby players going at it, and very different styles. And usually these games don't come down to an attacking moment. It's kind of who cracks first. But like the mental fortitude of both sides is exceptional as well. So it makes for so many great subplots. I saw them after kind of watching Saracens against Munster. I was thinking, geez, that was good out of Saracens. Then you watch Leinster, and when Leinster get it right, I think they are the best team in the competition.
One last thing we did want to get your take on. Billy Vunipola booed all match by the Munster fans, confronted on the field by a Munster fan in the aftermath of the game.
I don't know, was he a Munster fan? Hold on. he was in tailored shorts and boating shoes.
What are you suggesting? Where do you think he's from?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to.
They're not allowed down in Munster.
Give us your
no, we're not. He had the jersey on. I reckon he was a plant.
He had the Leinster jersey underneath.
Wrote out your Quinny accent first there. It was a talkie.
All he was missing was the Brown Thomas bag. Wasn't he lucky Vunipola didn't go at him?
I'll tell you.
Pretty lucky, yeah. I mean,
that was another aspect that warrants comment on. Like, how disappointing was the crowd and the occasion? And this is semi-final European Cup. It looked like Super Rugby where your stadium's half empty. This is the semi-final. These are the biggest days in Europe, and why is it like that, Ger? What are they saying?
The English clubs have ruined this competition by pricking around with it over the last half decade. I think that's what that's about. The fact that they don't even have it as the end of the season anymore, the way it is in every other sport. The big European competition is the end of the football season proper.
Yeah, exactly.
In soccer. And the English clubs have completely demeaned this competition by threatening to pull out of it and complaining about the Irish teams having the opportunity to rest players. Saracens rested loads of players before their game last week, and it was like not a peep out of it. So I think that's what it has to do with. And also they should have played the game closer to London so that Saracens fan base were able to go there. Like this whole not being able to play a home game at your home stadium. Just if you're the best team in the competition, you should be able to play games at home and turn it into an event, an occasion, I think. But
there's warning signs there. It's dangerous territory rugby's in now, because this is a special competition. This is, well, obviously I'm biased because the competition gave me the most fantastic of memories, but it was just so disheartening to see that. And I think rugby's in very dangerous grounds. If the European Cup is diminished or lost, the Irish clubs are going to feel that more than anyone.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do want to play you this, because Tommy put this together. Here's how BT Sport crowned Billy Vunipola's week on Saturday afternoon. Have a listen.
And then Vunipola at the end of the week that he's had. An awful lot of headlines, an awful lot of chatter. By some distance, the greatest moment of Billy Vunipola's week. He's a try scorer in the semi-final.
Spoken about your teammates and about the importance of family coming into this week. How did you feel coming into this one, Billy, given the storm that you've been part of, that you somewhat created over the last couple of weeks?
Behind closed doors, I felt a lot of love, a lot of kindness shown to me, and obviously, like I said, I'm very grateful to be part of this team, and hopefully we can just keep this going, keep up what we're doing, and enjoying every minute of it.
You were booed last week, you were booed when you got the ball today as well. Have you got anything to say to those people that kind of felt strongly enough to do that today about your words?
No, I think from my point of view, I'm just, I believe in what I believe in. There was no intention to hurt anyone, never my intention. And like I said, I'm just grateful to be able to play, be able to be fit, and hopefully we'll see those guys in the final.
What do you think of this, Ronan?
Well, his words are contradictory, aren't they? I didn't mean to hurt anyone, yet I liked something that grossly offends so many people. So, I just think, you you've got to separate, obviously. His performance on the pitch was really good, but I don't think he should be given a stage to proclaim how great he is and what he kind of essentially believes in for himself. I really don't have much interest here in commenting on him or kind of giving oxygen to him. I think it was he's very lucky in the fact that he probably should have been banned from the game, and rugby is the rugby family encompasses every different possible belief, and out of respect for your teammates and for people, you kind of keep those views private.
Yeah, it feels to me a little bit like English rugby is a little bit morally bankrupt when it comes to this, that they in the past would have taken a stand about players and discipline and things. Now, because we're so close to the World Cup, it feels like they've made the right decision for their World Cup chances as opposed to the right decision for the sport and for the integrity of the game into the future. That if this wasn't Billy Vunipola, if this was somebody who was a third or fourth or fifth choice player, they would have banned him, absolutely no issues. But his talent has given him the opportunity to continue playing.
Yeah, agreed. They're horses for courses, isn't it? Picking what suits them and deciding the outcome in relation to who the spoken candidate is. So not consistent one bit. If it was Chris Ashton or someone like that, there might have been a different punishment.
Yeah,
So it kind of made him out that it was kind of nothing of his doing, it was all of his undoing. He controlled everything. He was the person who decided to like it. He surely put some thought into that before he pressed the like button or whatever it is on Instagram. I'm not too sure of how it works, but I am a big fan of people with strong beliefs, but I think it's very important that one of the most important values in rugby you learn is respect. I don't think that's respectful.
Ronan, great stuff. Thanks for joining us this morning. Cheers.
Cheers, lads. See you.
Ronan O'Gara giving us some thoughts there. Alan Quinlan's going to join us a little bit later on as well. Time check for you. It's 8:40 this morning. You're listening or watching us on offtheball.com, the best place to get us every morning. And a reminder, of course, We have an amazing prize that we're giving away, an opportunity for you to get your hands on OTBAM this morning. It's the chance to win an all-expenses trip to Ireland against Scotland in Yokohama City on the 22nd of September. To be with a chance of winning, you've got to answer 3 questions for us and answer all 3 questions in the same tweet or comment. We asked you our first question at 8:10. Here's question 2. Who scored Ireland's first try in the infamous 2007 Rugby World Cup? It was a 32-17 win. So our first game of the 2007 Rugby World Cup, who scored our first try in that first game? We win at 32-17, and you'll get your third question in about 20 minutes' time. Phil Egan is in studio next with the sports news here on OTBAM. Before we get to that, here's a clip of the latest episode of our new Game of Thrones show with Andy Lee. It's called Off the Wall.
They die. It's the last time we'll see him in a full episode.
What did you think of it?
I thought it was a nice episode. I thought there was some good stuff. The Dan and Johnny revelation at the end was pretty good. And it was nice just to spend time with, and for once there were some kind of fleshed out conversations. You know,
there was a bit of time given.
Yeah, there was a little bit of time given to things that weren't rushed over. Like some of it could have been longer, could have been played like. We'll go through in a minute. We'll go through scene by scene, but overall, I enjoyed it, and it was probably a nice send-off for a lot of those characters to have a little bit of time, you know, and say goodbye to them.
What about you, Sue? The initial reactions, I know, weren't great, were they?
I was a bit disappointed. I feel like they've just been teasing us for so long, and I just felt like it's kind of weird because the whole thing is happening within Winterfell. So you have, let's move from this room into this room, let's move from this room into this room, and it's kind of you're not getting enough of anything else. Do you know what I mean? It kind of felt so self-contained that it didn't feel like it was moving fast. But when I look back and I was like, I basically wrote down every single thing that happened, and then when I was looking back, I was like, wow, there were a lot of big moments that you kind of just gloss over because you're like, where's the White Walkers?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think a second watch.
A lot of two-handers with the scenes, you know, is either like a combination of characters, one-on-one, and then might be joined by one of the others, but just seems to get in some.
Which is something like I missed an awful lot in the last season. Like the last season was pretty action-centric when we do a rewatch on it, and we lacked these kind of character moments. And I'm glad they addressed some of the things, like Tyrion becoming more stupid. Is something they had to address at some point, because we had this character for the first 5 to 6 seasons who was almost infallible in terms of every decision he made, everything that he tried to do in terms of social mechanisms, everything worked for him. And now he seems like a guy who's just desperately frustrated because everything he tries is just blown up in his face. I'm glad that the characters actually recognised that fact over the last couple of episodes. Even the fact that Sansa said that as well, which is like, I used to think you were the smartest person around.
Afterwards. All right, so we got caught. You're watching it, Anthony?
I am watching it.
Yeah.
Big fan.
You're up to date?
Yeah. Read most of the books actually.
All right.
Prior to it, that was tough going. But because there's a lot in it. I have to say I really enjoy it. So last night was kind of like, I saw someone say, I don't know if it was Tommy who was saying, it was kind of like an Irish wedding. You know, everyone should be in bed by 11 o'clock and then everyone was up till 4 or 5 drinking wine and whiskey, getting ready for the next day.
The night before the wedding, yes.
The night before the wedding, So, no, it's building up. I think there's going to be a massive twist, which I hope is going to play out. As long as Cersei gets it.
Well, there's some suggestion that maybe she might end up getting it, but that might also.
Oh.
Yeah, in the,
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Look, everybody's making crap up at this stage, so it's pure speculation. You're not watching any of it. And yet you've series linked it. That was the bit that we were laughing at there. We were coming off.
I didn't.
You series linked the final season.
My wife did. Because I was looking. I'm always one of these people that is always looking at the memory. I'm thinking we're down to 15%. This isn't good enough because if I want to record boxing that's on overnight,
it's like 7
hours.
That
can take up huge amount of memory, and it's happened to me before where I go to look at it and then it's
just
not there.
three rounds in. They're like
because Jamie Oliver's. Christmas special is on that. I was like, what are we doing?
I mean, I'm down with that too.
He's got some good ideas there, but I've seen it before.
Is it worth 85% of your space?
It is amazing.
You mentioned plenty of twists in Game of Thrones. Well, it seems there's going to be a few twists in this top 4 race because nobody seems to want it.
What's going on?
I don't know.
They're all crap. Is that what's? They're all crap.
I think that's the bottom line is Manchester City and Liverpool are streets ahead of everyone, and the other rivals are all have major weaknesses. On their day, they can be pretty much got at, and Burnley made it tough. Actually, watching Burnley last night, thinking they'll give City a bit of something to think about at the weekend.
Will they though? Aren't they now safe? Aren't they 39 points? Doesn't that mean that team are on the piss the whole week?
It's a free hit, It's a free
40
hit.
points last night.
After the game, it felt like job done, lads. That's it.
If you look at all the teams who've reached 40 points, their next game they're going to get absolutely trounced.
Yeah. Well, West Brom used to do it all the time under Tony Pulis, Alan Kirbishley, Charlton.
Yeah.
But it's all obviously that big game tomorrow. But yeah, finished 2-2 at Stamford Bridge last night between Chelsea and Burnley. 4 goals in the first 24 minutes. Cracker from Jeff Hendrick, actually. N'Golo Kanté and Gonzalo Higuain put Chelsea in front, but Ashley Barnes hit back for Burnley. As you said, they're all but guaranteed their place in the Premier League next season because they're 9 ahead of Cardiff. They have a much better goal difference. You also are assuming they'd have to lose all their games and Cardiff have to win all their games. Cardiff still have to play Manchester United, Fulham and Crystal Palace, so I'm not sure if they're going to win all those 3. Chelsea are up to 4th, but they played a game more than the other 3. They go to Manchester United on Sunday, but they're going to be without Callum Hudson-Odoi for the rest of the season. He suffered an Achilles injury in the first half. They actually made him walk off around the pitch. I felt very sorry for the guy. He could barely walk.
Did he rip his Achilles?
It was one of those innocuous looking ones, so it didn't look good. But Maurizio Sarri, the Chelsea manager, was sent to the stands late on. Chelsea defender David Luiz accused Burnley of anti-football, but Burnley manager Sean Dyche was having none of it.
You know how much effort it takes to put that kind of performance in here? The players know, they're not fools. They know if we can nick that last point, that's virtually, you're in the Premier League again. I don't honestly possibly know how you could argue that players going down with cramp performance like that is just par for the course. That happens.
Tom Heaton, the goalkeeper, by the way, was booked in the first half for time wasting.
Good man.
And got booed for the rest of the game every time he touched the ball.
But they've had an unbelievable second part of the season, and he actually is the reason. Once he came in for Joe Hart, Tottenham can move one step closer to a top 4 finish tonight. They're in 3rd place. They host Brighton, and they haven't lost a game since they've moved back to White Hart Lane, and they have 3 home games left as well this season, so they're certainly in the box seat. Watford face Southampton. Southampton still have a little bit of work to do to make sure they're safe. Both those games kick off at 7:45. Manchester United midfielder Paul Pogba says the only way they can make up for Sunday's 4-0 defeat to Everton is to give everything in tomorrow's clash with Manchester City at Old Trafford. United have lost 6 of their last 8 games. They're 3 points off the Champions League places. The United midfielder says the performance at Goodison Park on Sunday just wasn't good enough.
The way we played, the performance of myself, of the team, of everyone, is just disrespectful. We didn't respect, I think, ourselves, the club, and the fans.
Leader Shamrock Rovers will look to make it 9 wins in a row tonight in the SSE Electricity League Premier Division. Rovers welcome their bitter rivals Bohemians at Tallaght Stadium, and Bohs have an unbelievable record against Rovers. May 2017 is the last time Rovers beat Bohs. Kickoff is at 8 o'clock. Dundalk are second. They're 7 points behind Rovers after a 3-1 win away to UCD yesterday. Cork City drew 0-0 with Sligo Rovers. Waterford and Derry City drew 2-2, while St Pat's won 2-0 away to Finn Harps. Former Liverpool striker Robbie Fowler is the new manager of Australian side Brisbane Roar. He has signed a 2-year deal. He obviously played in the A-League for North Queensland and Perth. Burrows Saint won the Irish Grand National to give trainer Willie Mullins his first ever win in the showpiece at Ferryhouse. It was a 1-2-3 for Mullins, and today's the final day of the Easter meeting. They're back there at 2:10. The Electric Ireland Leinster Minor Football champions Meath go to Parnell Park to play Dublin in the group stages this evening. Elsewhere, Wexford host Offaly it's Carlow against Laois at Carlow IT. Longford play Westmeath, and Kilkenny face Louth, and Kildare meet Wicklow and Newbridge. Cork will play Galway in the Lidl National Football League Division 1 final on Sunday the 5th of May. Orla Finn scored 13 points in Cork's 118-214 win over reigning champions Dublin at Nolan Park. A cracker of a game. It went to extra time. Galway are into their first final in 4 years after a 112-115 win over Donegal at Pearse Park. And Ronnie O'Sullivan has a little bit of work to do. He's 5-4 down to James Cahill, who beat Dubliner Michael Judge in the final qualifying round. They get back underway later this morning in the first round of the World Snooker Championship. I know Shane Hannon is going over for the second week, and I joked with him in the office last week. Sure, Ronnie would be gone by then. I didn't think we'd be looking at one of the biggest shocks in World Snooker Championship.
He's an amateur, right? This guy?
He is.
Is he a kid? Is he an amateur because he wants to be, or is it like a...
He's early 20s.
Right.
So he's...
is he going to turn pro after this? Like, is that...
Well, I think if he beats Ronnie, he should just give
Does that mean you can't take the money? Is this like, is it
one of those?
I'm gonna actually, no, I've decided just now I'm turning pro and I'm gonna take the money.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Give me the money.
I have a feeling Ronnie's going to turn it around.
Yeah. I mean, it would be the most righty thing of all time not to turn around.
Yeah, he's been beaten in the first round before. I think he used to David Gray.
Singer. That was particularly shocking.
He bored him with his music.
Here. All right, we're going to talk Man United next with Andy Mitten. Here's Seamus Coleman talking to Stephen Doyle after their 4-0 win on Sunday. Have a look.
Our home form has been very good this season, or recently, especially against the top teams, and we thought we could get a result today. Possibly not by that margin, but I thought we played very well, and we're very comfortable for the win.
I know Marco said after the Fulham game that he was disappointed with the lack of intensity and aggression maybe last week, but he definitely got a reaction there today.
Very much so, and I think the Goodison atmosphere has helped us massively in recent weeks. You know, they've really come together with the players and made it a tough place for people to come. And you know, teams don't like coming here now, and we want to keep that going on through the rest of this season, next season as well.
Yeah, because there'll be a lot of focus after this game on how bad United were, but it was down to Everton not allowing them to play really.
Yeah, not allowing them to play, and I thought we played as well from minute one. We tried to play it from the keeper, and we did that very well, and we're very happy with our performance, and I think it was more a case of us being good than them being bad.
It's Seamus Coleman in the aftermath of the 4-0 win for against Manchester United for Everton at the weekend. Andy Mitten joins us now to talk to us a little bit about tomorrow's game against City. Andy, Paul Pogba is on the back of every single newspaper this morning talking about how disrespectful the players were to the fans and to the jersey and to Manchester United in that performance at the weekend. It's a bit of a rallying cry from him, and obviously it's good to see that he is coming out and owning a bit of the performance at the weekend. What's your take on what the expectation is around Man United tomorrow?
Well, Manchester United should go out and try and win the game. Whether that leads to Liverpool winning the league or not should be a side issue. United need to pick themselves up off the floor after that horrendous defeat at Goodison on Sunday. Paul Pogba came out, he's a senior player. He's supposed to be the most talented player at the club, and he did take ownership of it. It's a shame he couldn't do it on the pitch on Sunday, like all of his teammates who underperformed. Not for the first time. They've won 2 out of the last 8 games. It's nowhere near good enough for Manchester United. So the expectation isn't just about tomorrow. It's where Manchester United should be, and they shouldn't be 6th in the league. But this is now the 6th season where the club have failed to mount a title challenge, let alone win the challenge. And the worry now is that it becomes a 7th season, because the signs which were so positive in the first 3 months under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer have dissipated, and the mood among fans is one of worry, of concern. They hear of a sporting director being employed. They're talking about summer signings, but there's a real element of Groundhog Day with all this. We've been hearing the same things for 6 or 7 years now. Now, sport is cyclical. Teams win and teams lose. They have good runs, they have bad runs, and for some United fans it's difficult to take because there was so much success under Sir Alex Ferguson. And it's slightly ironic that Liverpool and Manchester City, the club's 2 biggest rivals, certainly Liverpool are looking so good at the moment. So it's a tough time for Manchester United fans, and that defeat on Sunday, I was in the ground, and it's the worst I've seen them play all season, because even when they lost at Brighton in August or West Ham in October, they at least had 10-15 minute spells where they looked okay. There wasn't any of that at Goodison on Sunday, and it's just not good enough. And I spoke to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer after the game. I said, how do you get out of this slump? And he said, well, we've got City on Wednesday. That's the ideal chance for us to do so. And the talk's right. Am I convinced that Manchester United are going to do it on Wednesday? Not really.
Yeah, I can see why the fans would be concerned. What, are they most concerned about the fact that they think the Solskjaer decision, the appointment was too fast, that the squad is so weak? What is the prime locus of the concern at the moment?
You're hearing lots of Harry Hindsights coming out now saying he should never have been appointed as manager. I can't recall anyone saying it on the 6th of March after the win in Paris. So there's lots of people who have got no qualifications whatsoever in professional football making extremely strong judgments. But then that's what fans do, and they're entitled to their opinion, and they pay good money. And I for one, said that he deserved to get the job, and I took until March to say that, and he'd had 19 games, and he'd had a fantastic run, and I still would like him to succeed now. But of course, the counter argument to that is, well, where's his body of work? Worked in Norway, worked at Cardiff, where it didn't work out. The fans are concerned basically because they don't like the team losing football matches. Winning games papers over everything else. The minute that stops happening, people look to find fault. They say they don't like the players' attitude. Where's the players' spirit? I don't like the players as people. When they start winning games, it just goes into reverse, and the pendulum swings quite wildly, especially on social media, which is not reflective of real life at all, certainly not reflective of the mood you see at the matches. But at Goodison on Sunday, there was real concern that United lost 4-0. Been hammered 4-0. In those 8 games since that game in Paris, since Ole Gunnar got the job, they've scored 6 goals. The attackers have stopped scoring. The defenders have conceded 17 goals. You can handle losing to Barcelona because Barcelona are a much better team than Manchester United. But twice against Wolves, being outplayed 3 times against Wolves, is that really Manchester United's level now? Is 6 an accurate barometer? Even though Ole Gunnar has got the team much closer to 5th, and because everyone else keeps losing, United still might finish in the top 4, and the club is structured in terms of their wages to play Champions League football, in terms of the sponsorship that they bring in. But I'm partly thinking maybe the Europa League is better for Manchester United next season because this current team is not close to having the quality to do any damage and win the Champions League.
Yeah, can I just move on to the Mike Phelan issue, because he obviously is on secondment at the moment from the Central Coast Mariners in Australia, where he is their sporting director. It seems like that wouldn't be the best preparation to become the sporting director at Manchester United, that actually the link with Edwin van der Sar and his involvement at Ajax is a far more relevant profile in terms of the experience that you want of somebody who's going to be responsible for the day-to-day running of the football operations at a club the size of Manchester United. What's your take on this Mike Phelan story? Is it a flyer or is it a realistic possibility at the minute?
It's the former. I don't think it's going to happen. I've not heard it from any reliable source. And I know Mike is a good man. He's a good coach. I don't think he's going to be Manchester United sporting director. Edwin van der Sar, yeah. He lives in Amsterdam. He's happy living in the country where he's from. He's in charge of this brilliant young Ajax team. Why would he leave that? Why would he leave it to go to Manchester? Money? Does he need money? You know, there's other factors here. These players and former players and directors, they're humans with families. Maybe their families are settled in the countries where they're from. The Solskjaers were certainly settled in Norway. But Mike is a good man, but I don't think, and I'm pretty certain that he won't become Manchester United sporting director.
Okay, that is interesting, because it did seem like it would be a fairly rushed decision for such a key role, considering he wasn't part of the conversation 3 months ago. Now he's in the club day to day. They're like, oh yeah, okay, you can have a role here with us. But are there any other names that you've heard linked with that role? Because it does seem like that's the next key appointment for Manchester United here.
Well, the name Paul Mitchell was put out there. He'd worked well at Tottenham. I think he's a Mancunian. He's done well at Red Bull Leipzig. I understand that story was not coming at all from Manchester United, so I discount that name as well.
Okay.
I know for a fact that some of the best people, some of the best sporting directors have availed themselves to Manchester United and received a polite thanks but no thanks. So when you hear that, and I'm on about the very best, when you hear that, you'd like to think that the club have got everything in hand with regard to that appointment, if they're going to make that appointment. And I've consistently been told that they are going to make that appointment. It was an appointment that Jose Mourinho didn't like the idea of. And I'm not sure that a lot of managers would like the idea of, because it's diluting their power. But whether they do it or not, I think is very important, because the football structure at the club leaves a lot of questions to be asked, because in the post-Ferguson era, and even in the Fergie era, because signing footballers is not an exact science by any stretch, the failure rate of transfers has been too high. They're paying too much money for underperforming players. If Manchester United had the 6th biggest wage bill in football, you can understand maybe that's why they're 6th. But no, they've got the 2nd highest wage bill in world football, not just in England. They've got the biggest one in England. So not unreasonable, given the history of the club, the size of the club, the financial muscle of the club, that fans expect much, much better than what they're seeing.
Andy, you've spoken before about how the contracts at Manchester United are heavily weighted in favour of qualification for the Champions League. So over the next 2 or 3 weeks, the players will have the opportunity to earn massive amounts of money, and everybody is motivated by their own motivations, but certainly your salary is the type of thing that we know professional footballers are motivated by. So it's not beyond the bounds of possibility they can dig themselves out of the hole they're in. Like, it wouldn't be the most remarkable story of all time if they were to play well all of a sudden with the quality that some of those players have, would it?
You have reason in everything you say, but they're not playing well. They're playing terribly. Even when they won the 2 games in this 8-game run against Watford and West Ham, did they deserve to win those games? I was at both of them. I don't think they did. They didn't play well, but they did win them. And money is clearly a motivationary factor with a lot of professional footballers. Is it 100%? You'd like to think not. And if it was 0%, then they'd all be playing for the local village or town club. Obviously got ambitions, and you end up at Manchester United, one of the top clubs in the world. They will see their contracts significantly reduced if United are not playing Champions League football next year. They'll have to get by with that. They don't deserve their full contracts to be paid if they're not finished in the top 4, because given the level of talent at that club and the names and the squad that's there, and the times that they have done very well this year, and that run under Solskjaer was fantastic. Going away to Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, winning Paris. Of course, United got outplayed in Paris, but they got the win. And if they don't get into the top 4, I think that they've underperformed. They've not done the job that they've been asked to do, and I don't think it's unreasonable to see the wages cut.
It's fair enough. Andy, do you hold out any hope for the game against City tomorrow night?
I do, because I'm an optimist. Maybe I'm an idiot as well. But I was also in Paris and Turin when Manchester United got those incredible results. And football can be so unpredictable and strange. Clearly, City are clear favourites. But they're also playing away at Manchester United. It's the bigger, more successful, better supported club in the city. And City's team have got excellence throughout. Guardiola is probably the best manager in the world. And I've got really good mates who are City fans who followed their team for decades, home and away. And they got hammered by United fans for just the glorious, consistent failure of their team. But they're very, very good football fans. How ironic now that the tables have been fully turned. I hope United win. I hope they win 6-1. Get revenge for that game in 2011.
Are you concerned though that they're like the form graphs are so stratospherically opposite at the moment that there is an opportunity here for Manchester City to come and have a signature performance and a signature result?
Yeah, of course. They're a better team. The league table doesn't lie. The 20 points more or less ahead of Manchester United. They're clearly far, far better. They need to win, because if they don't, that's likely to lead to Liverpool winning the league. And it's an unfortunate position for Manchester United, because they don't want either of those sides to win the league. But United have got themselves in this position. They should have been closer in the title race. They weren't and City have got the privilege and the pressure, because there's a lot of pressure. And I'm excited. I'll go to the game, and I'll probably, when it kicks off, I'll probably think for a few minutes Manchester United can win this, but maybe my heart will be ruling my head there, and then I'll click into journalist mode and be objective and write what I see. And when I've watched City this season, I saw them destroy Chelsea a few months ago. They were so good. And Bernardo Silva, for example, fine player, and one that had been recruited and scouted to fit in with a system which Manchester City have got, an intelligent system. And people hadn't really heard of Bernardo Silva when he came, apart from people who watch a lot of European football. That doesn't matter. He's fitted into a team which has been very, very successful, although they're not going to win the quadruple this year.
Andy, good stuff. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
Andy Mitten, give us some thoughts on that was interesting about the Mike Phelan thing, because Jesus, that would have been a terrible decision by Man United if they just appointed Mike Phelan, because here you're here, you can. There's an empty office over there.
Yeah. It just, I don't know. It just seems like I can hear what he's saying about Bernardo Silva, and obviously maybe there's not the structure. There's no vision of how they actually want this team to play and perform, and therefore once you have the structure, then we can actually start to fill it in. We can start to fit the pieces in. It's a bit kind of like, well, we have these players, we're going to try and fit them into some semblance of a team and of a strategy.
Yeah.
But like, you think back to say the likes of Keane as captain, and then you think to like Pogba as captain. Two very different characters. One epitomising everything that was good about United.
Yeah.
Forceful, determined, strong, never beaten. The other guy, flaky, what is he? So I just, like, we go back to the captaincy thing, it epitomises so much, it says so much about the culture of the team. And, like, they can't have got the transfers that badly wrong. Like, there's still a lot of talent in there, but these guys who are coming in, like, is it that the transfer situation has been so poor, or is it that the culture is just so poor? Like,
it's a combination of both being poor, I think, in that the players were not being bought to fit any style or system, and so they may not actually be useful for the current manager. So one group over here decide we want this player, this player, this player, and this player, and the manager's like, well, I don't need those players, that's not where my weakness is. Are you buying for need, or are you buying because you need to get our name on the back pages, and like there's a sponsored thing that we'll have a new signing and you've gone inside
from wherever, that we need to promote the label wherever it is, in whatever part of the world it is.
It doesn't make any sense. That there's been no overarching strategy behind the purchase of the players when they bought those players, and the quality of players that they're buying, and the fees that they're paying for these players. There seems to be a Man United tax.
That's a phenomenal stat he just put out there about the spending. But like it seems, even just watching Chelsea last night, there are specific players playing specific. They've Pedro on one side, they have
Eden Hazard
on the other side. There's a balance. Whereas you're kind of looking at United, and it's a bit like, it's just lads are just, what do we say, or the square peg in the round hole. It's just like stick him in there, and then next week he could be out there, next week he could be centre half. It's all over the place.
And we have bodies just for the sake of bodies. Alexis Sanchez is the best example of that. 8 minutes past 9 this morning on Tuesday morning's OTBAM. Alan Quinlan is up with us next. Just a reminder too, you can listen to the show every morning on offtheball.com, just like a breakfast sports radio show. Hit listen, minimise, and go about your morning. Time for our third question this morning. Once you have the answer for this one, you're free to enter our competition to be in with a chance of winning a trip to Japan for the Rugby World Cup in September. We'll be bringing 100 of our green ticket winners to a special roadshow on the 9th of May. And at the end of the night, one lucky winner will win a trip to Japan. We're looking for the answer to all three questions. We asked you question 1 and question 2 earlier in the show. Here's question 3. So they're all to do with our opening game from the 2007 Rugby World Cup. Who was Ireland's head coach for the 2007 Rugby World Cup? Give us that answer and enter however it is that you want to. You can leave us a comment on any of our platforms. You need to put all three questions and the answer to all three questions in your answer, and you can get in touch with us. Now, here is Andy Dunn talking about the magical performance of James Lowe on Saturday. So,
well, he's a joy to watch, and it's very rarely a left winger can influence how the rest of his team plays. He's usually it's very much going the other direction. The interior part of a team influences how the winger plays. But in the case of James Lowe, he seems to have a free pass from the management to do whatever he wants. And I think the management needs to be applauded for that. I think James Lowe also needs to be applauded, obviously. But there was a concern in my mind going into this game. We probably knew Leinster needed to be tight in order to beat Toulouse. If the game became very dynamic and broken up, it would have favoured Toulouse. So picking James Lowe then as a wing was a risk, because he only plays that way. But I think they were prepared to take that risk because the benefits outweigh those negatives. And he took a quick tap off he took a quick 22 to himself 6-7 minutes into the game, probably when no one else would ever have done it. And in turn it led to the Leinster blockdown, Henshaw's blockdown of Thomas Ramos. So you can be very negative, or you can be very restrictive on players at times to your own detriment. And I think Leinster's coaching team needs to be applauded for going with a guy who embraces risk to that degree. in the semi-final where Leinster needed to avoid risk. So they diced a little bit. They took their own risks in selection, but it worked out for them.
Yeah, Alan Quinlan's here. We're going to talk about lots of other stuff. I want to talk about James Lowe first. Not only might not be in the team for the final, we just need to stop that now. Sorry, Jefferson Gibson Park, we like the cut of your jib. That's why it's very difficult for us to cut you, but you're not playing. Because James Lowe, you're playing.
Yeah, he was superb, and he's just so powerful. I think, the way he's scoring the try and the strength he has, and he puts the fear into the opposition when he gets the ball. And
there was one bit where the play broke down and he just picked it up and kind of was crawling along the ground for about 15 metres, and it just gave Leinster enough time to put their whole defence in place, but it was also brute force.
Yeah.
Like sheer brute force.
He's not afraid of that, and you talk about body language and having energy and stuff like that, and he just brings so much, even when the forwards, even if they don't do something good and he thinks that's good, he's running in off the wing and stuff. And I know there's been a big debate about United's body language and work rate and stuff, and he just works his socks off. So he's a guy you want in the team, and he brings so much energy. So I think they'll have to play him. Having Luke McGrath back for sure it gives him a little bit more leeway to not have Gibson Park there, but it won't be an issue next year.
No, because he's Irish qualified.
But I think they have to play Lowe. He's too good.
Would he be straight in the Ireland team at the moment? He probably would, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would. Yeah, I think he'd be close to it anyway. That's Stockdale's left wing, so he wouldn't get in ahead of Stockdale at the moment, but he'd be thereabouts.
I mean, he might,
He might, well...
Stick him in and it's suddenly like, hang on a second, he's even better than Stockdale.
Yeah, he's very effective now.
Certainly Stockdale's going to have to raise his game a little bit next year. It'll be like, there's a bit of competition for that. But okay, so let's go backwards and we can finish up by talking about the final again. I want to play you this. This is Billy Vunipola on BT Sport, and it was certainly something that we wanted to get into a bit of detail with. Have a listen.
And then Vunipola at the end of the week that he's had. An awful lot of headlines, an awful lot of chatter. By some distance, the greatest moment of Billy Vunipola's week. He's a try scorer in the semi-final.
Spoken about your teammates and about the importance of family coming into this week. How did you feel coming into this one, Billy, given the storm that you've been part of, that you somewhat created over the last couple of weeks?
Behind closed doors, I felt a lot of love, a lot of kindness shown to me, and obviously, like I said, I'm very grateful to be part of this team, and hopefully we can just keep this going, keep up what we're doing, and enjoying every minute of it.
You were booed last week, you were booed when you got the ball today as well. Have you got anything to say to those people that kind of felt strongly enough to do that today about your words?
No, I think from my point of view, I'm just, I believe in what I believe in. There was no intention to hurt anyone, never my intention. And like I said, I'm just grateful to be able to play, be able to be fit, and hopefully we'll see those guys in the final.
What do you think?
He should have apologised. He says it's not his intention to hurt anyone, but he did hurt people. So if he's that kind and that gentle and that nice a soul, and his beliefs are one thing, you know what I mean? Like I've said this before, I've said it about Israel Folau, whatever they believe they're quite entitled to, but they're using social media platform built on being a sports person to air bigotry, in my opinion, and so he should have apologised. The only voice that the crowd have, and the only opportunity for any of those people in the crowd, it's the only opportunity to say anything about it is to boo him and show their displeasure at what he said. Some people say it was very unsavoury and it was wrong and they shouldn't be booing him and stuff like that, but Israel Folau and Billy Vunipola and the other rugby players who've liked the messages from Folau have been offended by it and don't agree with it. And the fan coming onto the field was wrong and stupid. But I just think he should have apologised. Say, I believe in what I believe in, and the toughest week of his life, Jesus, Ger, come on. He brought it on himself and he had a great chance to say, look, I'm sorry for what I said. I do believe in what I believe and I'm sorry I've offended people. And, So it's.
Should McCall have taken more of a role in that?
It's difficult for the coach there. What does he do? Drop his best player? Drag it on? They've said they spoke about it internally. So this is his first rap. It's like if the Folau one in April from Australia, they took him aside and said, "Don't do this," and. It's just people talk about freedom of speech, and freedom of speech, of course, freedom of speech.
Yeah, but it's not without consequences.
Exactly, you're going to have consequences.
You reveal yourself to be an ignorant pig. We're going to treat you like an ignorant pig.
If you're a sports person, you have to realise that if you're going to offend a lot of people, and the game itself wants to include people from all genders and sexualities and whatever. That he's someone playing the game, and Folau is the same. So, I said this, there's no problem with Israel Folau going down to his local church and praying every day and going to his church and, even enhancing his beliefs with people around him. But you've seen all the rugby players in Australia who've distanced themselves and said they don't agree with what he said. So they're dividing people in the sport. And, I think he added to it a little bit on Saturday again by... banging his chest and kind of waving at the crowd. He'd have been better off just not to react to that, because he's just showing people that he doesn't care. He doesn't really care if he's offended people. So there's one thing, and you can be sorry for offending people and still believe in what you believe in. And I thought he had a chance to apologise and say, "Look, I'm sorry if I hurt people." What if some of his teammates are gay? What if some of his the academy players in Saracens are gay?
Well, they're going to hell, according to Billy Vunipola.
But he believes that, but he shouldn't be putting it out publicly. And he tweeted, he liked the tweet from Folau, then he added his own tweet in to clarify. And part of me understands that, he's trying not to offend, but then when you realise you've offended, at least say, "I'm sorry for offending." And he didn't say that. And it wasn't the toughest week of his life.
Well, if it was entirely self-inflicted. And I also thought that the coverage from BT there was completely tone deaf. It was like the whole notion that, it's a story of redemption for Billy Vunipola scoring a try, despite the fact that he has helped spread hatred and bigotry around the world at the click of a button. He completely did not take responsibility for his actions or his part in that, and as you say, it has real life consequences for people all over the world. And it's like this great guy has just done this thing to shut these fans up who are angry about this thing. What are they even it was almost like BT Sport didn't know what had happened.
Yeah, and look, it's, to be fair, Austin Healy picked him as man of the match, and he'll argue that he felt he was the best player in the field. There was other people who could have got it, and I think they were blindsided a little bit, to be fair, in their defence. And I've been in that position where something's happened really quickly, like a sending off or a yellow card, or the narrative has changed in the game. But what I do now as a commentator, and what I've learned over the years, I tend to look at scenarios that potentially could happen, like red cards, yellow cards, erratic score lines, shock results, and I prepare myself for a couple of different stories that what could happen. So I'm not blindsided. So,
there was a good chance Billy Vunipola was going to be man of the match.
There was.
He's their best player.
The mistake, the panel and the commentators and stuff didn't prepare for that, and they were kind of were a bit blindsided. So Billy Vunipola is man of the match. I thought Sarah Elgin, what she asked him was fair, and she could have been harder on him, but she asked him.
Yeah, she opened the door.
She opened the door, and she gave him a chance.
But the commentary around it from the
I was insensitive, I think, a little bit. But I pictured myself being in that situation, and sometimes when you're kind of there, you're afraid, and you overanalyze what you should and shouldn't say, and then sometimes you can say the wrong thing or not get the tone right. So I wouldn't be as hard on the commentators, but I think when you look back on it, they got it wrong, and I think they'd admit that themselves, that it was a little bit insensitive to. So again, if somebody who's gay was watching the game on Saturday, and they would be kind of offended by that he wasn't kind of called out and said that we don't, even if they say we don't agree with what he said, and it just they got the.
Yeah, but it wasn't a comeback story. He wasn't coming back from some personal tragedy. He was coming back from from
Something
liking
he
a
already created
homophobic,
himself.
disgusting tweet.
But it was strange last week, like Friday and Saturday, reading the papers, they were talking that Saracens would use it as a kind of a rallying call, and they were all going to.
They did.
They were going to build this kind of siege mentality around. And I was kind of saying, how exactly? And even if you look like what Vunipola said there about the booing, he said, well, hopefully we'll see those people in the final. I was kind of going, what exactly? So is he saying he wants that atmosphere again? I don't know what McCall is. Like it's very strange to try to say, oh, we're going to try to build a siege mentality around it. He's being wronged because supposedly they do this a lot in Saracens. I didn't know. They look for these angles where everyone is against us type thing.
It's a chip in the shoulder mentality that they have. They had a great chance this week. They handled it wrong. I think Saracens. It's grand saying the start of the week we're going to deal with it internally and we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. But
I think English rugby at the moment is rudderless and lacking all sense of moral compass. And I think that this ties into the fact that there weren't enough people at that game, because what they've done is they've diffused all the power to the clubs, while at the same time the RFU is almost bankrupt, despite the fact they own the stadium, which pumps out cash, and they have that massive TV deal from the Six Nations. Something happened in English rugby at some point over the last 10 years ago where they completely lost their way. And now you have all these clubs who are losing money hand over fist to the point where they have to sell a part of their future to a venture capitalist firm to try and rescue the situation and go, no, this is all going to be fine. This is all going to be fine. It's just like 10 years of loss making. And then one day everybody's going to start buying TV subscriptions, which doesn't happen anymore, and rescue this. And it's not going to happen. And in the meantime, we're watching it going, you're saying that it's actually okay for a player to do this. You are saying it's okay because you didn't suspend him. You took no action against him of any consequence for what he did. And now the team are using it as a rallying cry to say, actually, what he did wasn't the wrong thing.
It's going to make us stronger and stuff like that. If I was in the Saracens team, I wouldn't want it to make us, I wouldn't want to use something like that as a motivating factor. I would be uncomfortable with that because they're actually getting behind. And look, stick up for your player and all that, but what he did was wrong. Saracens should have come out and said it's wrong. They did say we don't agree with it and it's been dealt with internally, but they weren't strong enough on it. Yeah, they weren't strong enough on it, and
we're making them play.
I thought he had a great chance to put it to bed. It's going to rumble on, and like I said, there's headlines in the papers yesterday about his brother backing him up and saying he handled it great, and it motivated us and brought us together. It's irritating and it's frustrating to see that because I thought Gareth Thomas was on Channel 4 the other day and he summed it up perfectly, much better than I can, because I'm not gay. Gareth Thomas is gay and he was highly offended by it. Lots of people were very, very much offended by that whole scenario. And we've allowed this to fester, and we've allowed this now to go on again.
And it'll be a narrative for the final as well.
And the stupidity of some people online saying, well, freedom of speech, and he shouldn't be fined, Folau shouldn't be suspended, and he shouldn't have his contract terminated. Plain stupidity from him. If you get a warning, if you give me a warning here, Ger, and say, well, don't say this again, Quinny, on air, or you're in trouble, it's compromising our position, and I go and do it again, well, who's the stupid one? Whether I believe in what I've said or not, it's my choice then to either jeopardise my job or not, and that's what Folau has done.
Yeah.
But Vunipola's comments are as bad as Folau, in my opinion, bad. Because he's used it publicly, again, built on a social media platform for sport. He's a great rugby player. Keep your beliefs to yourself. You don't have to endorse somebody else. It is creating hate, and it has created hate. And rugby wants inclusivity and people from all genders and sexualities to be able to play the game and enjoy it. And I think it's wrong. He had a chance. If he apologised at the weekend, I still believe what I believe, but I'm sorry if I offended people.
Look, I think it's definitely going to be something that we're going to come back to as well in the build-up to the final.
Well, it's not going to go away.
No.
Until he does something like that, which he evidently isn't going to do.
And English rugby are not going to step in and do anything because he's their most important player. Like we've seen England play without him. And
does the whole Eddie Jones thing fit into it? Like when I watched England, even during the Six Nations, they again had this. They're back to the old kind of 1980s teams where it's, you know, belligerent, a lot of big men, a lot of, you know, they're bullying teams, and it's all about, we don't care about anyone else, we're just keeping this in-house, you know, it's siege mentality thing. Jones is spiky, to say the least. Like, there seems to be a kind of a thread right through the whole thing, you know, of this kind of like, you know, we're just going to keep it all in-house, you know, screw everyone else type thing. Yeah. Whatever happens, and it's all England.
I think the players, the Saracens players, should have been briefed on that quickly, even after the game when they went to the press conference and say, look, let's not go down the siege mentality and it's made us tighter, made us stronger. Like, their player has come out with divisive comments last weekend who've insulted and upset people and could cause a lot of distress for lots of people. Yeah. And they've come out and said, well, we've used this as a motivating factor to make us stronger. There is absolutely no doubt Saracens are a brilliant team. And Mark McCall is a top-class bloke, great coach, he's done a brilliant job. I know him well, I played with him. He's a brilliant fella. But again, hindsight's a great thing. I think if they look back, and maybe they won't care what I say, what you say, what Anthony or anybody else says. I think it's wrong. They clearly don't. I think it's wrong. I think they were very insensitive the way they handled the whole thing.
Let's move on to Leinster, because obviously they're up against Leinster in the ChampionsCup final now in Newcastle in not that long, a couple of weeks away now. Leinster put their best performance of the season together. It was their most complete performance. We saw Sexton back at the level that we know he's capable of. Sean O'Brien played really well, Cian Healy played really well. Why the massive improvement in performance from Leinster? Where did it come from?
Because they're good players, I think, and they obviously, in the last couple of weeks, they blindsided all of us with a strategy and a behind-the-scenes plan. So Leo Cullen deserves a lot of credit for that, and Stuart Lancaster, Contepomi, John Foley, the other coaches, that when they go out and play Benetton and they get a draw and it's un-Leinster-like, even with predominantly second string, and then they played Glasgow and they're beating 39-24, I think. Very un-Leinster-like again, when it was kind of 50-50. There was half the kind of starters, the top players, and half were second string. And you think, maybe something doesn't look right here. But I think behind the scenes, and sometimes they're already qualified for the semi-finals, so they were quite entitled to be planning and waiting and preparing for Toulouse after what happened against Ulster, where they just were underperformed. Ulster overperformed on the day, and they brought huge passion and pride, and nearly caught them.
If Stockdale slides in, what happens?
I still think Leinster would have won the game. So at the end of the day, so the pessimism was justified a little bit. It was more, this is a very good Toulouse side. Will they have learned? This is a question mark that I was thinking. Will they have learned from what happened in the RDS in round 5, where Leinster just smothered them out of it, held the ball so long, managed the tempo and control of the game really well, and Toulouse couldn't live with that. And that's exactly what Leinster did the other day. Don't make mistakes, be really efficient at the breakdown, wear them out, defend really strongly, and together double tackle their big ball carriers, and they just did it continuously. So why did they do it? Because obviously they had a plan and a structure, number one. Number two, there's really good world-class players in that team, top quality players who
playing well now though,
have the ability to switch on. See, the worry, Ger, as well, as they were undercooked. They hadn't really played together since the Ulster game. So this stage of the season, do you need all that match practice? Maybe not. They show that they don't need it. Some teams need to play regularly to get ready and up to speed for the big assault or the big game. But they showed that, like Sexton hasn't played for Leinster this year, and he can go out and play at that level after a really disappointing.
Unbelievable.
So top quality experienced players can do that, and they did that superbly.
He got his 60 minutes in. He's only allowed to play 60 minutes for Leinster anymore, Sexton. What about the quality of service he was getting from Luke McGrath? Did Luke McGrath play himself into the...
Yeah, he was brilliant, and I think his delivery was so flat, and that's what Sexton wanted. But the platform was laid from up front. If some of the Six Nations stuff, when Sexton was taken really flat, he was getting smashed because the opposition were right in front of him as well. Whereas if you're getting over the gain line and you've a lot of variety to your game, and the ball is quick, well, it's very hard for the defensive line to meet him head on very flat. And yeah, Luke McGrath was really good. His passing was really crisp and sharp. And
is he the best passer that Ireland have as a scrum half?
Probably.
Is he pushing Murray hard for World Cup? Different player, right?
He's pushing him. Marmion's pushing him, but Conor Murray is still a different player, and he offers so much more than the others. I mean that respectfully. His physical presence. You look at what Conor Murray did on Saturday. Like, he saved Munster on so many occasions with his defensive work. And to be fair to Conor Murray, he's responded really well in the last few weeks and played very, very well. Also, like Sexton. So it's brilliant that those two guys have got their mojo back a little bit. But Murray just does so much.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
There's times there when that quick just distributor would help a team when they're trying to up the tempo and pace. But I still think, But after what happened in the Six Nations, I think both those guys should be still vulnerable, and that'll make them better. And I think that bit of vulnerability has got them to react.
I want to play you this video. It's Sean O'Brien speaking to Channel 4 in what's probably going to be his last game at the Aviva Stadium.
We had to be on our game defensively today, and I thought we managed it well at times.
And for you personally, one step closer to finishing your Leinster career on the ultimate high, that must have been a lot.
Yeah, tough day for me here actually today. Just the last game in the Aviva for me probably, so nice to finish with a win anyway.
Congratulations, Sean. Good luck.
Yeah, I totally came out of nowhere there, the bit where he's the old chin going. It's like,
a little bit, didn't he? Yeah. And he's entitled to it.
Totally, yeah.
It kind of hits you as a wave. When I played my last game for Munster in Thomond Park in 2011, I was thinking, Jesus, I'm going to be all tough here. And it just kind of hits you sometimes where, and it hit him there, and quite entitled to, it's sad after a long time being at Leinster and realising then, Jesus, it is my last game here in Dublin in the Aviva. In the Aviva, last European game at home. It was tough for him. I thought he played really well.
Because we had ROG on earlier on, and he was like, this guy's got another couple of years at test level left. If you're the next coach, the next Ireland coach, surely, and he's still playing, do you make an exception to the rule for him? He's like, he's at the end of his career, he can play London Irish and still play for us. No? I mean, that's
you're opening a can of worms there, aren't you?
Yeah, okay, we'll let it go. But what an amazing career. And also, the quality of the performance of the weekend was right back to the level it needs to be.
He's missed as well.
The story of all the injuries has been devastating for him. And he's still fighting away, and I thought he improved. And you know what? He's the type of player now who needs matches to get back, to get the body working. Yeah. And he was sharper on Saturday, Sunday as well.
And slim.
Yeah, he is, and he was moving a lot better, so he just needs game time, and he'll have an important role to play given that Van der Fleer and Levy are gone for the rest of the season.
Alan, good stuff. Thanks a million for that. Now, before we finish OTBAM this morning, John Duggan's going to join us to talk about the Irish Grand National. But first, news coming through this morning that the former Celtic football captain and manager Billy McNeill has passed away. McNeill was the first British man to lift the European Cup. He died at the age of 79. Pretty sure that Billy McNeill was the manager in the centenary season in the 80s as well. Packy Bonner would have played under him in that team. Was he the manager of that team, John?
He was, Ger. And Anthony, good morning. Very sad news this morning about Billy McNeill. Had dementia for a few years, and I was actually bizarrely looking through the European Cup winners last night. I was going through because I'm expecting Tottenham to win this year, and I was just for Celtic to come out of nowhere and win in 1967 and beat Inter Milan in Lisbon 2-1. Lisbon Lions. They won 5 trophies that season. Billy McNeill made 790 appearances, and he was never ever a sub. Wow. He was a one club man. August 23rd, 1958, his first appearance. May the 3rd, 1975, his final appearance for Celtic. 2 spells as a manager. Took over from Jock Stein, who he played for in 1978, and then that Frank McAvenny, I think it was the late goal in the cup final, that centenary double season, as you say, in 1988, when I think Packy Bonner and Chris Morris were playing for Celtic.
Yeah, that'd be right.
So a very sad day. Statement from Celtic Football Club. The Celtic family mourning the death of Billy McNeill, the club's greatest ever captain and one of the finest men to have played and managed the hoops. He's passed away at the age of 79. The wider football family too, in mourning at the loss of this great man. Celtic Football's deepest condolences and heartfelt prayers go to Billy's wife Liz, their children Susan, Paula, Libby, Carol and Mark, and grandchildren, and all his many family and friends at this extremely really sad time. Of course, they reached another final in 1970. They lost to Feyenoord. He then managed Aston Villa and Manchester City in the 80s. Before he came back to Celtic, he was an ambassador in recent years. And if you're at Celtic Park in Glasgow or Parkhead, you'll see that statue of Billy McNeill, who was nicknamed Caesar. I think it was after an actor, Cesar Romero, lifting the European Cup, and it was a breakthrough achievement for British football, for English football, for Irish football, and for Scottish football. Because we'd like to think Celtic is Irish, wouldn't we?
Yeah, so Billy McNeill's passed away this morning at the age of 79. John, we want to talk a bit about the Irish Grand National. A 1-2-3 for Willie Mullins. You're going to break your duck, break it in style.
You are. It's over 21 years, I think, since his first runner in the race. And like Willie's won everything. He's won 4 champion hurdles, 65 winners at Cheltenham. This was the first year he won a Gold Cup at Cheltenham. That was a big breakthrough for Willie. And he's finally won the Irish Grand National with Burrow Saint, only the second 6-year-old since 1985 to win the race. In 1985, Ryman Reason won the Irish Grand National as a 6-year-old and then went on to win the English Grand National 3 years later. And the way Ruby Walsh was speaking yesterday, I think they really feel that this horse could be one for the future. Of course, he's won a big race already now. He's won possibly the most prestigious race in Irish national hunt racing. But Aintree and a match with Tiger Roll could definitely be on the cards. He jumped extremely well. He's a novice. But he is French bred, and sometimes with French horses they progress at a younger age than horses that are Irish or English bred.
Why is that?
Just because they're just broken more quickly, and they're just sent over hurdles and fences.
Right.
You know, they take a bit more time in Ireland, usually through bumpers here.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, Isla Hope and Dream second for the second year in a row, and Acapella Bourgeois was third. Like Gordon Elliott had 12 darts to the race, didn't get anywhere. It's just the way it goes, and Willie's just had a great season. And like I suppose I'm going to write an article about this on the website offtheball.com today, because I just think we just need to appreciate Willie and Ruby when they're here at the top of their sport, because they are achieving great things. They really are achieving great things. I mean, Ruby he's 40 next month. He gave the horse a great spin. Whisper in the Breeze went off in front. Was looking at one stage it might be hard to peg back, but Ruby's got the clock in his head and he knew he was able to pick off Whisper in the Breeze. Got the horse jumping well, which is not easy sometimes for a novice, and you knew that he'd plenty of petrol in the tank to come home in front. And just a great season for the pair of them, and that will make Ruby's mood be a lot better after having 2 broken legs and damaged vertebrae and everything. And
yeah, it's been a crazy season for him.
Yeah, it has been, and to be able to he had a good start to Cheltenham, but the rest of the week was quiet enough for him. Paul Town and of course were the Gold Cup winners, so an album photo. But Willie Mullins is pretty devastating to Punchestown, and it probably is a big signal to everybody that Willie's probably going to have a very good Punchestown. Yeah. But there's very few races he hasn't won now. He hasn't won the Champion Chase at Cheltenham. He's been trying to win the Melbourne Cup for a few years, and I expect him to win that at some stage, but very few. He's won a Classic on the flat, very few races he hasn't won.
Pretty amazing performance, John. Good stuff. Thanks for that. Now, as you may have heard on Off the Ball over the last little while, we're giving you the chance to go to the Rugby World Cup in Japan. This is potentially the greatest prize we've ever given away on the show. It's an all-expenses trip to Ireland against Scotland in Yokohama City on September the 22nd. An amazing prize. It's all with thanks to Heineken. We gave away the first of 100 green tickets at our roadshow in the Olympia last month. We're going to be giving the rest away across Off the Ball all the way up until the 9th of May, where all 100 green ticket holders will join us at a special event in Dublin, after which one lucky winner from the room that night will be jetting away to Japan. This morning on OTBAM we asked you 3 questions. They were all related to the same game from the Rugby World Cup in 2007. Who did Ireland beat in their first game in the 2007 Rugby World Cup? Anybody know?
Namibia, Georgia.
Namibia is the correct answer. Question 2, who scored Ireland's first try in that game? Who's that man there? It was Brian O'Driscoll. We won 32-17 against Namibia, and everyone was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. That was, I remember that was...
writing on the wall.
Georgia was even worse.
Georgia should have won that game. I think there was a bit of slightly iffy refereeing going on. Question 3, who was Ireland's head coach for the 2007 World Cup? The answer was, of course, Eddie O'Sullivan. What an amazing team. When you look at the team we had, it was like, we had such a good team. And they played so crap.
Yeah, desperate.
So the answer was Eddie O'Sullivan. The winners of this morning's Heineken Green tickets are Darren Hart and Brian Flaherty. Congratulations, lads. You have both won one of our 100 green tickets for the roadshow on the 9th of May. At the end of that night, one lucky Off the Ball fan will win an all-expenses paid trip to Japan for the Rugby World Cup, all with thanks to Heineken. That is pretty much all we've got time for on the show this morning. So thanks, lads. Thanks, Anthony.
Roger.
What's going to happen in Game of Thrones? Who's going to end up on the... Who do you think?
Let's not get into that. We could be here for another hour. You a fan, John?
Never seen it.
Just no interest?
I'll get around to it at some stage.
After Spurs win.
When I've stopped watching football.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 7:45 a.m. Stay tuned to the radio and News Talk tonight for the lads. They'll be with you from 7 o'clock, looking back at a pretty immense weekend sport and looking forward, no doubt, to tomorrow night's game as well between City and United. Good luck.